Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the November Town of Port Royal workshop and public hearing. We're going to be opening up with a public hearing tonight. Brooke?
Yes, so our first ordinance is 2023-17, an ordinance to authorize the town manager to convey excess real property to facilitate construction of sidewalk within the town described as Beaufort County District 110, map 10, parcel 103. This is at 1102 13th Street, which you'll see on the screens. This request complies with the sidewalk construction policy, and a map of the location is in the folder, as you can see.
Thank you. Any public comment on this? Hearing none, we'll move to the next.
2023-18, once again, we have another sidewalk. An ordinance to authorize the town manager to convey excess real property to facilitate construction of sidewalks within the town described as Beaufort County Tax District 110, map 10, parcel 0155. This is 1210 Madrid Avenue. The request complies with the sidewalk construction policy as well.
Once again, any public comment on 1210 Madrid Avenue? Hearing none, we'll move to C.
C, we have 2023-19, an ordinance to authorize the town manager to convey excess real property to facilitate construction of sidewalks within the town described as Beaufort County Tax District 110, map 11, parcel 0045. This is located at 907 10th Street. This sidewalk has already been constructed, and the resident is interested in participating in our sidewalk program.
Very good. Any public comment? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing and move directly into our council workshop. There is a sign-up sheet going around the room, public hearings we need people to sign in for, so take an opportunity, please do that. First item tonight is a presentation. Beaufort Bikes. Rachel?
Hi, everyone, and thank you, council members and mayor, for having me here tonight, and for Brooke and Noah for setting this up. I'm going to present to you tonight my bike share, and but before I get started, I would like to tell you a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Rachel, and I'm married to my husband, Rodney, and together we have 5 children, ages 11, 9, 7, and 3-year-old twins. And we have resided in Beaufort for about 7 years now collectively. Born and raised in Michigan, we moved down here in 2011 and lived here for 5 years before taking a tour of the South for my husband's work in the states of Mississippi, Texas, and Georgia. And we are very blessed to have returned about 2 years ago. Beaufort and Port Royal are very near and dear to my heart, so I'm very excited tonight to bring to you the next amenity I have to offer. Okay, which is a bike share. So what is a bike share? Well, it is not a brick and mortar building where someone can come and rent a bike for a day or the weekend and return it to the same location during business hours when they are done. It is bigger than that. It is a way to connect the community. It is a mode of transportation, and it will have multiple locations. So how does it work? Customers will be able to download an app via their smartphone, and within the app they are going to be able to see all of our current locations and all the bikes at those locations. And so when they choose the location that they want to go to, within the app they choose the bike they'd like to rent, and they can rent it at that time. We will have multiple rental rates available, including hourly, daily, monthly, and annual. So for example, someone who is a bike enthusiast or commutes to work or the grocery store often might want to choose our annual option, where they will pay a one-time fee once a year and be able to use the bikes as frequently each day as they like, as long as they're docking it periodically. And for everyone else who may not be using the bikes quite as often, or who are just visiting for a couple days, one of the other options might be a better choice for them. So what is it going to look like? Well, it's not going to be a bike rack strewn here and there or bikes sitting in people's yards, but it's going to be a professional, cohesive bike share that will be docked into something called a docking station. So depending on the location, there will be maybe somewhere from 6 to 10 bikes. Each docked into the docking station, which you can see in that picture, is a pole coming out of the ground, and it will be bolted into either a square of cement or the entire bike location will be on a slab of cement, depending on the look that is desired. All the bikes will be the same color, but it will be a vibrant color that catches someone's attention, but at the same time, it will mesh within the looks of our community and be aesthetically pleasing. And they will all contain anti-rust and anti-flat tire components. So being that these bikes are going to be used frequently, it is important that we have the lowest rate of maintenance possible and the highest rate of customer satisfaction. And the tires are not going to be filled with your typical air, but a special gas that enables the anti-flat component. So here's an example of some colors that can be chosen from. This is not limited to these colors, but just to give you an idea of what we can work with. And each bike will be equipped with a bell, which will be perfect for the trail, and a front end basket. And I think I forgot to mention on the previous slide, Beaufort Bikes branding will be on each bike, either on the bike chain or the back wheel or both. So here is our development plan, divided currently into 3 phases. The first phase will be the most important. It will be our big launch, and will include some of the most important locations around Beaufort and Port Royal that residents and visitors enjoy the most. And I have been in contact with the City of Beaufort discussing these exact locations. You will see in phase 1, we have the Waterfront Marina parking lot, the Depot Road Trailhead, the Publix Trailhead, and the road frontage on Trask Parkway, right in front of the Home 2 Suites and True Hilton Hotels. Being that so many visitors come into town on that route, they will be able to see Beaufort Bikes right on the right-hand side as soon as they arrive. They will see the new amenity we have to offer, as well as a new form of transportation to visit the other amenities in the area. And last but not least, which is why I'm here tonight, we would love to launch in Port Royal. We have previously discussed a launching point where the trail will be intersecting with Paris Avenue in the future, but that might be a while from now. So another few other locations that we have discussed is the new library that we are going to have in town, as well as what I think is fantastic is the Cypress Wetlands, which is very special to my family, and I know many other families in the area. I think it would be a great new feature to offer there, and another form of transportation for people to use. And then also the new development going in by Fish Camp. As soon as we have that complete and residents in place, those residents can hop on a bike. If we set up a bike section there, and be able to go to the wetlands or even down to Sands Beach, which you will see in phase 2. We would love to include Sands Beach in our second phase of development. Residents in Port Royal could go to Sands Beach or park at the Sands and take the trail all the way up into Beaufort or vice versa. Phase 2 is also about connecting us all the way down the Spanish Moss Trail from Beaufort into Port Royal to include Broom Lane, the Broom Lane Trailhead, and the West Vine Road Trailhead. Finally, in phase 3, we have a couple outliers, but still places that I feel are very important and would do very well with bikes. The Beaufort Memorial Hospital. So for anyone who works there and is in the vicinity of a bike location, they would be able to commute to work. And if not, at least on their breaks, they could pick up a bike and enjoy the trail at that time. And last but not least, Whitehall Park on Ladies Island. That would be a way for us to connect to them and them to us and allow for future development in the future if the community desired. You will also see I have listed the approximate number of bikes for each location in order for a family, 2 to 3 families at a time, to be able to pick up bikes in a specific location, especially during our busy seasons. When people are coming to visit, we wouldn't want to turn anyone away. It also shows that we will have additional docking stations at each location. So for example, if somebody at point A wants to go to point B and dock their bike, they will be able to do so. And the final column shows you kind of the footprint that each bike location will take up given the number of bikes. Each bike will take up approximately 2.5 feet of width. So all bikes will be operated on solar power for maximum efficiency, and I will have an administrative backend with GPS coordinates on every bike so that I am able to see where all bikes are at all times for security purposes. And for example, if somebody goes to dock their bike and they don't do it successfully, I will know. Their phones will be alerted, or they will be alerted by their phone when they do dock their bike so that they know their ride has come to an end. But if they do not see that, I will, and I can go dock the bike at that time and take care of the customer. There is also the option for system off hours. So if we don't want customers renting out bikes in the middle of the night, we can put that option in place. And the City of Beaufort has asked me to put a hurricane plan of action in place. Given if a hurricane comes to our area the day before, we will remove all bikes and secure them either in a shed or a storage unit provided by Beaufort Bikes. And that way we ensure that the bikes are not damaged and the bikes don't damage anything else. And so that's what I have for you. And if you want a formal business plan, Noah and Brooke have that they can send to you. And I'm open for any questions as well.
First of all, thank you for presenting. First question, these are not electric bikes. These are pedal bikes. The solar you're talking about is to keep the GPS and the locking and all that, right?
Yes, the locking mechanism.
But these are pedal bikes, not
Correct.
electric bikes. Okay. Council, questions?
I love the concept. It's similar to what I've experienced when I was in Atlanta with they have the Segways and also the scooters and so forth, so you can dock them at various points and leave them somewhere else and so forth as a mode or means of transportation. I've seen these other places as well, so I like the idea, the concept.
Thank you.
I used it in Chicago to go from my hotel to a convention center and then back every afternoon. Because I am a cyclist, so I saw
Yeah.
bikes, I was like, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah.
Instead of walking 3 miles to the convention center, I just jumped on a bike. Noah, have you had conversations about a location, with not having the trail kind of locked in yet? Have you talked a little bit about a location with?
Yeah, and Rachel mentioned a few options. The library was one of the options that you threw out. The concern would be, having to coordinate permissions with private property owners or public property owners that are not town. So we were also discussing maybe the corner of 14th at the Christmas tree site, possibly right there on the inside of that property, could potentially still be in the right of way. So those are the types of locations we're looking at on Paris Avenue for now, until we get to a point where the trail does connect through the port and we do create that connection from the port side over to the Sands Beach Road area.
What about Town Hall?
Yeah.
Down.
I mean, yeah, my thinking was let's focus on where the foot traffic is right now. And so the wetlands and the library, that area seems to be the heaviest foot traffic at the moment. So
The wetlands, I'm not sure that there's good frontage there that wouldn't just kind of
Yeah.
block. Yeah, that's the one I was thinking about. honestly, I was thinking also in front of the police and fire department, in front of the training center, right there, where
It's
you
great
would see
fun.
them coming right into town.
Yeah, I mean, I think, obviously right now we direct people across Paris Avenue at that intersection to get to the trail through Mossy Oaks. So it's close to where people are kind of deciding, do we want to go over to the trail? That, or they could just see the bikes there as they're walking into Paris Avenue and realize, I want to do that today. And
So what happens, now you kind of touched on it, like what if someone doesn't bring it back? Just leaves it on the side of the road or?
Yes, we'll have a plan in place, either myself or a contract worker will, since I have the GPS coordinates, I would be able to see that and we would take care of it.
Yeah, that,
I'm guessing there's some, they would be, because they have your credit card information, right? So they would be financial.
Well, I mean, until the bike is docked, if it's like an hourly rental,
keep
they
running
would
on 'em.
continue to be charged, yeah. So nobody wants to leave it sitting around
Yeah.
because that would happen.
And we had a discussion with a scooter rental that was dockless, and you could just leave it anywhere. And from my experience in larger cities that have those shares already, it's a nightmare. I've walked down the street in Charlotte and tripped on a scooter, those kinds of things. So we don't want that
I think
kind of
we're ready for
clutter in
scooters yet. I
town.
like the bikes, but I'm not sure we're ready for scooters.
Exactly, the bikes just seem to fit.
And the
us
scooters
more.
aren't really allowed on the trail, so it doesn't give the connectivity
Right.
unless scooters work. All right, so logistically, if they follow through, because they're gonna use possibly land that we own, council will need to do council action on this? Have you guys had that conversation to say that we're going to allow?
We hadn't gotten that far, but I think it makes sense
I
that
think
that would
that would
need to
have to
happen.
be, and I
Well-
get,
Because it's public land being
right,
used.
Maribeth?
So if it was public land being used, then there would have to be a charge because you're gonna make money, the
Yeah.
town needs to.
That's the
But
piece I
electricity-
think you gotta figure
That's what I
out.
just wanna make sure.
Right, that's a
we're-
piece you gotta figure out, logistically, how do we do this?
And we wanted to put it in front of you before we did that legwork, all of us, so.
I love the idea of having a bike share.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's
We gotta pick the right location. Sands Beach, I think we have to kind of hold, until we have a solid kind of bike trail out of Sands Beach that ties in, that we're working on, I'd rather hold than just send people down roads. Until we have something we can kind of offer them, they'll end up on the boardwalk. Yeah, something to think about on that one, but I'd love the idea of somewhere on Paris Avenue. I think it's you guys, really, between you two, obviously Noah, between you and them to figure out, look at what makes sense. Obviously, bring the police into the conversation, make sure they're okay with the location. We have to assume, it's amazing that you're talking about bikes, but you must assume that people may drive their car and have to park their car to rent the bike. Just to base that, because we don't have, like, it's not like there's a hotel or anything right there that they'll just walk out and grab. So some people may want to do that, so we got to think about, is there nearby parking that's available to do that? Anything else, guys, that you can think of?
No, sir.
Does everybody like this idea?
I think it's good.
Everybody likes, so
Great.
we would want you to keep working with town staff, and they'll bring back a kind of full recommendation to meet all the legal requirements to do this. But I think it's a great idea, especially if you can get those other connections, like you said. If you can get it either, Broom Lane, Depot Road,
Yeah.
the city of Beaufort, because that's where people will use them, grab a bike and ride here, or grab a bike here and ride there. And
Yes,
of course,
I'm
we
meeting
would-
with Public Works tomorrow to discuss it more.
Great, at the city of Beaufort?
Yes, I've met already with Linda Roper in the city of Beaufort, and together we're meeting with Public Works tomorrow.
Great,
Rachel,
great.
you've had meetings with Sissy and Dean as well
Yes.
already, right? with the
Right.
friends?
And of course, we would want something similar to what the hurricane plan.
Oh, yeah, same plan. The one and Councilman Phillips mentioned it, is we need to have a guarantee that if the bikes are left, nighttime pickup happens, that they're not left overnight. You'll have to figure that out, because like I said, somebody rents them for a week, then they can be at a house, but obviously looking that they're not left on the street, or an
Yeah.
easy access for our police department to be able to reach you to say, hey, this is an abandoned bike, you need to come get it.
Yes.
We're gonna need to see some sort of a plan that we know that they
Okay.
can get picked up pretty easy.
So put into words what the plan will be if
Yeah.
a bike is left out. Okay.
Correct, because we just don't want them just laying around.
Yes.
And have some way to figure out what to do.
Right.
Like you said, most of these people, they're gonna go and, they're gonna bring it back as they're paying for it. It's
Yeah.
if somebody figures out how to get it out of a dock, or somebody doesn't dock it right and then somebody else grabs it, they'll leave it somewhere.
Right.
So we need to know that that could get picked up if it's, hey, it's not supposed to be there, and what's that plan in place?
Okay.
Okay? Anything else anybody can think of? We look forward to seeing this come to the next step.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Next item of business is we've got an interview. Steve Workmeister. Steve, come forward. How are you?
Pretty good. How about yourself?
We're good. So you want to help us out for the ZBOA.
That's correct.
Tell us a little something about you and why the ZBOA.
Well, I was born and raised in Maryland for about 60 years, moved down here. Originally started out working, my work life was with the railroad. I worked on the maintenance way department. Worked there for 10 years, did a lot of traveling, didn't like that. And then went back to school, did 2 years at a community college, 2 years at an upper level college, graduated, started a business with my brother, Premier Concrete, and I was going to work there for just until I found a real job, and that was about 30 years ago.
Still looking.
So, still looking.
You think the
That's
ZBOA
right.
may be that real job?
That's right. That might be. The salary's right. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Scott Clark asked me to join, and when I looked at it, and I feel committed to Port Royal, and I thought I'd like to repay a little bit of try to keep our community nice.
So tell us what you think the ZBOA is.
Well, my understanding is it's almost like an appeals. So if, I guess it would be Noah, if he would turn down something, the person would have the right to kick it up to the appeals board. And then we would look at it, and my understanding is you look at it and say, okay, is there legitimacy here? And if it's black and white, you very rarely overturn or rule otherwise because it's black and white. And then if there's more to it, then that's when you have to start getting in and work with other people and figure out if you can grant or appeal or not.
Appreciate it. Council, questions for Steve?
No, thank you very much.
Well, first of all, thank you. Every time a citizen comes forward willing to work on one of our boards or help us with anything, it's really what helps this town be who it is, and it helps the connectivity between what's going on and what happens inside of government a lot of town. It's important that the citizens be involved, and this is the best way to do that, is by serving on one of our boards and commissions.
Okay.
The way this process works is we do the interview and then the following council meeting. We try to, sometimes it gets extended out. At the following council meeting, we then actually take that vote. So at this point, that would be next Wednesday, that we would officially put you on that committee. We don't take votes during workshops.
Okay.
So next Wednesday, we would do that. We'll have an executive session before, because we'll talk about it. We classify it as a personnel matter. We talk about it and then come out and we take our vote afterwards.
Okay.
So that'll happen next Wednesday if everything goes according to plan. Good?
Okay.
Any questions for us about this?
Not really. No. I figure it's going to be someone on the job training, you know.
Absolutely on the job training for.
Thank you for
any
your
boards.
willingness to
Okay.
serve.
But thank you, Steve.
Okay.
Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
I have a question for Stan.
Do you have a question? What's that? Good.
Not for Steve.
Have we received anything from the Beaufort Jasper EOC in regards to the reappointment of the individual that serves as proxy on that board?
No, sir.
Because that term is expiring, and I know that it's gonna have to go back before us for reappointment. I'll
We'll
just
reach
follow-
out.
Okay, yeah, because I know we have our meeting next week, and if there's an action item, the person is still interested in serving, but we have not received the official notification from them that the term is expiring.
Thank you for
Correct.
bringing it to our attention, Darrell. You'll take care of that?
Yes, sir.
Great. Council briefing.
Council briefing. So as you can see, Mr. Van Willis is not here this evening, but he was kind enough to send you all his council briefing. There's a few topics that I can touch on, but I think Some of these other ones I'd prefer for him to discuss with you for next week. I will start with the speed humps, speed tables, whatever term you'd like to use. We have, Four Waters has updated their plans and has prepared a response back to the DOT letter. You are going to be reviewing up, what we have right now are the locations for the speed tables. We have 3 located on Lenora Drive, 3 on West Vine, and there's also 3 speed tables on Casablanca Circle. And for Four Waters to resubmit, it will need a council approval for these locations in that submittal.
So everybody understands it's here or listening online. The reason these are coming before council and being done this way is because these are DOT roads, and the DOT road has a very, very long and difficult process that has to be abided by to get any type of speed control device put in place, and we're working our way through those. Any speed tables that are required here in town, in the downtown area, that is a simple by staff, and that will happen after the repaving project happens, then we'll start, and then we'll be working with them on speed tables in town and getting a similar presentation about where they're being recommended. So this is just phase 1, which is going to take months and months probably to get through DOT. So we're just trying to move this along. There is finally a process in place, at least Secretary Hall put something in place that allows us to do this. Where before 2 years ago, was it? No, or 3 years, just 2 years ago, this wasn't even a viable option.
Correct, yeah.
This wasn't even a viable thing that Secretary Hall has now put in place.
They've adopted traffic calming.
They call it traffic
program
calming,
with-
so.
With pre-approved
Just a quick
devices.
question. How are we communicating to the residents that are affected on these streets of this?
Location-wise.
We have not received approval, so we have not yet. But as soon as we have more information and know of these exact locations, then we will be reaching out.
Okay. I just don't want them to wake up one morning and see crews out there putting in speed tables, and that's the first they've heard of it.
Yes, sir.
'Cause- okay. Thank you.
And Noah?
Yep.
would you
Anything
mind?
else?
Anything else on that one?
Anything, council? Good? Okay.
The next one, this is for the Shadow Moss, why does it say Shadow Moss? The Spanish Moss Trail Crossing. We have been in discussions in the past with Safe Harbor on a location for the easement for the trail crossing. Permits in hand for the county and the Friends, and we've contributed to that as well. So the portion of the trail that's included in this easement that we were discussing is from the crossing at Rebo to Ritter Circle, so just north of the Bluff neighborhood area. We had a call today to get those conversations restarted with Safe Harbor representation and Ward Edwards representation, and we came to somewhat of an agreement on the exact location of the easement for the trail, and the attorneys will be fine-tuning that language for the easement here soon, so.
Is timeline still to have the easement in place before the end of the year?
Oh, yes, yeah.
Absolutely.
So for that portion, yes. Now,
For that
we do
portion.
have a transportation alternative program grant from the state, that the timeline for completion of the rest of the trail to connect from the crossing at Ritter Circle down to the fish camp section, that needs to be completed by end of 2025.
Yes.
So we have a little bit less tight of a timeline to figure out what that location will be with Safe Harbor, but we are going to continue to work on that with them in the near future.
Because the current county contract appears that they're going to be starting in January, building the crossing across Rebo Road, so we want to make sure that we have that second piece in place in that same timeline. Very good. Council, question? None?
No, sir.
Is that all we're doing?
No, I've got a couple more.
Okay.
Pierce Avenue Streetscape, we met with, when I say we, it was staff, met with Four Waters and J.K. Tiller on October 6th to discuss public comments that we received. We held that meeting here in the council chambers, and we had a good conversation. We made some updates. They are tweaking based on those updates, and they're going to have something back for us to review roughly around January, and then it should be coming for a presentation to council in February. Any questions with that?
No.
Surveys, we've been getting a lot of surveys done here recently. We have surveyed work going on over by the school for additional sidewalk, as well as over on the other side of 12th Street by the Avalon building. And the survey work has come back, and we have preliminary drawings from Four Waters that we just received today, so we'll be reviewing that and hopefully be able to finish completely our sidewalks that we've been doing, but
And that includes the parking layout at Alano Hall.
yes.
To accommodate their parking needs better, and to formalize it a little bit more, so that once the parking spaces are full, you go to Paris Avenue to park. I think the sidewalks will help with that as well, with the enforcement of parking on the sidewalks.
We also have the Casablanca drainage improvements. We received that survey back, and currently Four Waters is reviewing it. Let's see, paving. So, very excited. We've been going a lot of emails, calls, trying to figure out when are we going to see paving. On November 13th, I will be having a meeting with Blythe and Four Waters. We're doing one more walkthrough of where areas that we're going to be needing milling. And that week, work will be starting. So
13th.
we're excited to finally see this project start.
Just ensure that when you speak with Blythe, that they understand to be cordial to our residents.
Yes, sir.
Because I've met them before and they weren't very cordial to me.
I understand.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
How dare them.
Personal knowledge sometimes.
Right.
Alan, would you mind giving an update on the police department?
Last week, we received our CO for upstairs, and I want to thank this body and all the staff, too. We couldn't have made it happen without everybody. We moved in. We just did the punch list this morning. They finished up the repairs this afternoon. We moved in a couple of people. 80% of it's going to be storage and sleeping areas for our hurricanes. So please stop by and look at it.
Stop by and take a look this week.
Turned out
Slumber
very,
party, right?
turned out very well. Slumber party.
Jerry, you don't have to take your sleeping bag anymore.
Good.
But yeah, it's gonna be very, very nice.
I want to say one thing about that. I stayed there during Matthew. When was Matthew, 2017?
17.
17. We've been working on this since 17.
Right, and I remember this conversation at that time, so I'm glad to see it come to fruition.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Thank you all.
Glad we were able to put that budget in place and make that happen.
We went over budget 4,000, only because they had to rebuild the stairs going up because the stairs weren't up to code.
Right.
I'm glad we got them. Glad it got it.
But it's all taken care of
Sleep
now.
upstairs.
Widen them or something?
Widen them and, expand them out.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Question for you, maybe for next month, not this month in any way, but kind of an update on what's happening with the parking and the new parking ordinance and parking tickets. kind of
Sure.
What you've done, what you're doing, what your feelings are on what we've done. Do we need to tweak it in any way? Obviously, the people who have to issue the tickets and deal with that are really the ones that can tell us whether we did the right thing.
Right.
So I'd love to see that come back next month and just kind of give us an update and let us know if it's meeting the needs of the citizen, or do we need to tweak it in any way?
I sure will.
Or does it make it too difficult?
The only thing that we regret right now is we cannot pay them online. Our system doesn't talk to the other system in-house. So maybe something in the future we can look at.
Yeah, that's the-
Yeah, so we'll have to start looking at that.
Convenience,
If we can expand any of our software to take those payments.
Yes, sir.
Some sort
But
of-
I'll give you a report next month.
That'd be great. Appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Yep. Yeah, a lot of the cities do. That civic engagement with payment
Yeah, the city of
at
Beaufort
those
does.
costs.
Last
Last-
item
yeah.
for briefing, last month when I was absent from the meeting, you all, I believe, voted to postpone a decision for the right-of-way conveyance on 13th Street, the unimproved 13th Street right-of-way, for the project that's being referred to as London Square at the moment. I have added a photo, a much higher resolution survey, and this zoomed-in, highlighted version of the survey as well to the council folder for you to look at. The applicant did stake the property corner on the corner that you can see here near Richmond. And if you got a chance to look at it in person or see the photo, the stake is in the wet area on the property, at the corner of the property. What I have highlighted on this survey, the green skinny line, it's kind of hard to see after scanning in the highlighter, but the green skinny line would be the new property line where Brooks cursor is, and then the wider highlighted area is where that path currently is between the duck blind pond and the vacant property. I guess I do have Lauren Kelly, who is the architect and land planner for the project, is here if you have any questions for them on the applicant's side. I did want to highlight this just to show with the additional 10 feet of right-of-way, it's still not going past the wet area that is in the right-of-way currently. So we were discussing maybe a suggestion of terminating, so can you go back to the full survey?
Yeah, can you bring the full survey up?
Was that in the folder that?
Yes, it's in the folder as well.
It's, yeah,
There, yeah.
it's listed as layout, yeah.
So as you can, if you zoom in a little bit, please,
Yeah.
just enough to see the contours of the elevation.
Too much?
A little bit too far. That should
How's
work.
that?
Yeah, could you just scroll down a tiny bit? Perfect.
Perfect.
So the request is a conveyance of 13th Street right-of-way for the entirety of this southern property line. But there was, do you want to?
I'll take it.
Yeah.
So I went and took a look at this, took a closer look at it on site, looked at the survey, see what's available. And it just seems to make sense to me that we alter this to be a 10-foot conveyance from 13th Street behind where the buildings are, Vernon's Hill property, behind where the buildings are, to the edge of where the property starts tailing off, and you can see the contour lines start dropping. And only convey the property, that's what we would call uplands land, to them to build what they need behind and to be able to do what they need for the setbacks, because that's where the buildings are going to be. From that point, and I'm looking at Lauren, from that point on to the other end, we would like to do an easement where you can build a boardwalk across that to give that connection of the sidewalk so that we don't lose any of those bushes and it's not a conveyed property, so that wetland can still work for us. I'd love for the applicant to come up and see if that makes any sense to you. It seems to make a lot of sense to me, and that wouldn't, there'd be then no bushes, no trees, nothing would be affected. That's already kind of cleared land, other than where the boardwalk would be built, would be a narrow path, just like the Cypress wetlands or anywhere else where the boardwalk would go through. How does that sound to you?
Yeah, that sounds totally fine. I mean, I think, honestly, the land developer that we're representing would love to eventually give most of this back.
Okay.
And we've talked about the feasibility and the, temperature
Just for everybody else,
that.
introduce yourself. I'm sorry.
Oh,
I know
I'm sorry.
you-
I'm Lauren Kelly, and the architect that's also doing some of the land planning.
Sorry, Lauren, I've known you for so many years, I forgot
I know.
everybody may not.
But, so I think there's absolutely no issue with that. I mean, and kind of what that surface looks like, whether it has to be an elevated boardwalk or it's some kind of gravel path. I think the engineers are working with all of the relevant people about the water line and how far it goes. But there's no issue with that.
I think it just kind of makes
So-
sense. From planning perspective, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was kind of the direction we were looking anyway, whether it be gravel the path that exists in the right-of-way already, or do something like a boardwalk over the wet area. So, Lauren, I guess,
Could you bring the one with the highlighted yellow back up? I'm sorry
Yeah.
to make you jump back and forth. And if we were to do something like that, Noah, then the yellow path that's there now, couldn't that be just turned back into natural and close that path
I think
completely?
it makes more than, that's totally sensical
Right,
to say.
so then that path would be
let's
closed, those
close
bushes
that.
would start taking over, and that would fill in that area, add more of that kind of, it's not a buffer between these two, but it's more, add to that rookery that's kind of naturally being developed in that area.
Yeah, so I mean, in lieu of streetscape improvements, because it is an unimproved right-of-way, we could look at revegetating that area where the path exists already. Then there's a public easement for the boardwalk that crosses the wetland or whatever that path would be.
Very good, very good. You
Sounds
like-
good to me.
Council,
What was the, kind of just the thought process in the first place for it?
To request that?
Yeah.
It would be easier to describe it to you if we had the.
The concept plan?
The concept plan. But basically, both of the easements were requested, really, there's kind of two reasons. One, because there's a lot of large existing live oak trees, and actually, we could actually do the entire site plan without any additional easements. But in order to kind of just give those trees a little bit of space, get even further away from the encroachments that are permitted, that was really the reason. The encroachment along the easternmost street, one of the interesting things just in general about these huge rights-of-way in Port Royal, they're 80 feet wide, is that when you kind of do the math, so you have 2 lanes of traffic that are 20 feet wide, and you say we want to do a streetscape improvement that has parallel parking, which takes 8 feet, and then green planting strip, if you can even plant trees, because there's so many existing trees, and a sidewalk, that takes 18 feet. So you have a lot of room left over. So you kind of are ending up with this residual space. So it either gets a really big planting strip, you can have a wider sidewalk, but ideally you want the sidewalk kind of closer to where the houses are so you can connect to them. So part of the reason for that request was the large trees that are kind of in the northern part of the wetland, in order to give a little bit more space to the east of those, but also to just make the streetscape a little bit more rational, because you just don't need 80 feet to do a 58-foot wide streetscape. And then you can see in the southwest corner, see how all of those trees, they kind of go along the street and then they come into the property kind of south of where the existing house is. So in order to make that southernmost lot just a little bit more buildable, and we're already using very kind of small footprint houses. That one's probably around 1,200 square feet at 1.5 stories. It just helped a little bit.
so it helps save the trees. And
Yeah.
this concept plan would completely change then, because that road would not be going through. The whole bottom section of this would, where it enters in from London would remain similar, but then as the houses play out, then we wouldn't have that secondary road that's pushed out. We'd be looking to do something through there.
The area past where the alley turns in
Mm-hmm.
to the property was going to be pedestrian path anyway.
Yep.
So that's just a path.
It'll
It's
just
not
change.
Right, it's so,
There's
yeah.
no driving.
There's the alleyway and then the pedestrian path, and all of that would push back up closer to the property line. Very good.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and put the overall survey up again, if you can. Thank you, Lauren.
Sure. This one, or,
The full survey.
let me,
Council, questions? Does that
Second.
alternative make sense to you? So Brooke, and I hate to put you on the spot with this, so if we were going, no, it's actually you, if we were going to do that kind of a change, we'd probably have to rework the ordinance and we'd have to start back from the beginning? Or could it be a text amendment?
That's
'Cause we've already had first-
Changing the ordinance now is probably a Brooke question, actually.
Okay,
Did we have first reading or we tabled it?
You had first reading and then
first reading and
postponed.
we had public hearing.
Okay, so you would
And
have to
because,
tweak it. You would have-
It's on the agenda for second reading.
yeah, we can, I think it's too much for just a simple text amendment, does that make sense? But what does that timeline do if we had to start the process over for you, for the developer, Lauren? Come forward. Can
While
you-
she's walking up,
Right.
I did receive the design review submittal, the formal design review submittal for that, so we can continue with that.
Okay.
With this in mind, we've done that in the past.
I mean, I think if those could run concurrent, that would be better.
Okay. So we'll leave it to staff
contract,
to see
but-
whether it can be a text amendment or if we can run those both concurrent.
I think that if there's any way to do a small text amendment to just say like a portion of the
Yeah.
13th Street instead of the whole thing, that
We-
would
we
be
know who to ask.
ideal.
Yeah.
But
We'll
Yeah,
ask.
We'll
And
find
then
out. That's
Okay.
why I wanted to
Lauren,
make sure I understood
Thanks.
what the next step was.
This is a GASB survey, right?
yes.
Would you be able to get the survey, would you be able to get the survey, an overlay on the survey to show where the conveyance would terminate and turn into an easement of the same width?
Yeah, we could
Okay.
send that to you tomorrow.
Perfect.
Cool.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, Lauren. I know there's been a lot of questions about this, so I'm going to pause here and open it up specifically to this topic. If you have any questions about what we discussed tonight, and then obviously this is going to come back again, if we can do so next week, and we'll make sure there's plenty of time to do comment if we bring this back by a text amendment, so that we'll present it, we'll show it to everybody, and then we'll open it up for public comment again before we do anything. Because if we do that, if we go the other route, then we'll figure it out. But I'll open it up. There was, Elaine, you come on forward. Well, good, that's good.
Well, I'm not sure, because
Okay.
honestly, first of all, thank you, council and mayor and Noah, as always. 80512, and yes, I have one of the best views in town, which you know, so over onto that. And yes, I know, I'm not a hypocrite, I know I'm here because of developers, so I'm not saying against developers. And I wasn't going to speak because last time I really used up 3 minutes and I don't see the clock going. And I was going to say kudos to me, but I didn't understand the survey and I plead ignorance and I talked to some of my neighbors and whatever and we walked and we saw flags and we saw them at where the buildings are, where the outbuildings are. And because I didn't understand it and I didn't see flags anywhere near the 13th Street walkway, my concern remained that the nature and wildlife we previously spoke of still needed protection. You're telling me it doesn't. You're telling me that because you guys are professionals and you read these surveys, and the architect is telling us that nothing's going to be cut down that belongs to nature right now and to the birds and whatever, then guess I don't have anything to say beyond that. So if you're allaying my fear that we ask our town to leave the pond and all its border life as is, and that's what you're agreeing to, then I thank you once again for your time, and I think I did it in really just like a minute and a half. So thank you all, and thank you
I
for...
want to clarify the nothing's going to be cut down statement. So there will be, when the pathway goes down into that lower section and comes up, there will be a very narrow pathway that people can walk. There obviously has to be some bushes that are cut back, but that will be about, so the back of the pond, where where the walkway is now, that little bit of easement
Yeah.
that comes off the one street, that's going to be about another 50 feet behind that, closer to that property where this pathway would come through. So it's further away from your house than you thought it was ever going to be. But it'll be a narrow path, just like that goes through the cypress wetlands. It'll originally be cut, and then it'll canopy over within a couple of years.
But the trees and the copse of bushes, if you were walking towards London and you're walking that path, on the left-hand side, you're not going to see the pond. You're just going to see what's there, and so that the people from the other side will still see the birds, and the
Correct.
birds will live.
Correct.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you all for
No,
your
thank
time.
you. Thank you. Scott, come forward, if it's on this.
It is. Could you go back to the concept plan, please?
Remember, the concept plan's going to change.
I understand,
Yeah.
that's what I want to clarify.
Yeah.
Just give me
Scott Clark,
just a
1012 11th Street. You touched on it, Mayor, but I want to confirm what's going on, just to kind of ease everybody's concerns.
This is an extension of the cypress wetlands in a
That's
lot of
right.
ways. It is very
It-
much.
the-
The water comes from.
Yeah, the setbacks are actually larger than what we have at some of the places at the wetlands, so.
Well, and I thought it was a great point she said, that the whole point of this was to save trees.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Can you grab the mic and take it?
Architect.
Yeah.
I would just like to confirm that the southern line here, or the southern pathway that's right here, based on what Noah showed us earlier, is going to move north and
Don't touch the
and,
screen.
and, yeah, and when it gets to this point, since that's wetlands, that's going to be boardwalk.
Boardwalk or some sort of a path is what they're describing, and Noah will work to make sure we
Yes.
get what's necessary.
So this was the concept planned, and it's going to change because of what we've been talking about. But this road, or this pathway, is going to be moved further north, and when it gets into the buffers for the wetlands, it's going to convert to boardwalk.
A trail.
A trail.
So if you look at that, right, exactly where you're pointing, there's a little bit of green space between where the path is shown right now and where the light pink is a porch of a house. So we need to at least have we would probably move it up maybe within a foot of that.
But
that could move up.
The right-of-way that the town is, the 10-foot right-of-way that the town is granting is from your property line south 10
Correct.
feet.
That's
So
right.
Currently, that pathway is not on your property.
It is in the easement, that's right.
It's
So
it's still in the remaining, which would be 50-foot right-of-way, or 56-foot right-of-way that would be remaining. So, is that going to be the town's responsibility, or is that going to
That's
be?
gonna push up. That's gonna be built in the 10-foot that we're offering.
But it wouldn't,
Okay.
I'm sorry.
We can do
I'm
that.
being- I'm
No,
belaboring
no.
this. These two houses right here that's the property line for that they currently have. So if you drop down 10 feet, you're dropping down to that line right there, which is the building setback line for these two houses.
I see what you're saying.
So
We'll just make sure
those
that
two
the
houses-
path is
these
in the
houses need to
set.
move forward.
That's right.
And
Right.
this pathway needs to move into the 10-foot wide right-of-way that the town is granting you.
Scott, I think it's better to look at the survey than to look at this concept drawing,
Yeah.
because I think it could describe it
Right,
better.
'cause that's
And
gonna
once
change.
again, Brooke, I apologize, hopefully you still have it open.
That's gonna change.
Yeah,
To
no, that
switch
makes
back to
sense
the tab
for
with
what
the
you're
survey.
saying.
Yeah. And so.
It's not open on top?
No.
When you open it this time, right-click and say open a new tab, and that way you'll keep them both open.
My vote's carried.
Sorry.
Well, actually, though, if we're just using the extra 10 feet to put a path in, that actually doesn't give us any benefit, right? Because we would probably be able to do right-of-way improvements, just like in
That's what I
city
was saying.
right-of-way.
Right.
So
10 feet.
generally on a street that already exists for a major subdivision like this, we would require streetscape improvements like they're doing on Richmond.
Right.
Sidewalk, street plantings if it doesn't exist, street parking. So to give the breathing room for the encroachments on the trees with the 10 feet benefits the site plan itself, and it's not inappropriate for us to allow the pathway to be in the right-of-way
Right.
still.
And that's kind of how it was set up. No, I don't disagree that there's room to move it up, but I don't think it would move up into the 10 feet that we're asking to
Right,
get.
so the
I guess.
10-foot's gonna be off of that existing property line, the dark line.
Right here.
Right.
And then there would be a small, beyond where the road is, then there would be a small grass buffer and then the
Right.
pedestrian path.
Yeah.
Again, all in existing area that's already cleared, nothing's gonna be cleared to put that in
Except
until,
scrub brush.
until you get to the scrub brush to put it through the low
The
section.
wetlands. Yes, I mean, I'm just, as a representative for the wetlands, when it gets to buffer for that wetland area right there, it has to be a boardwalk. It cannot be a gravel
Yeah,
path.
you and Noah will work
Okay.
on that. We'll work on that. So for next week, if it ends up on next week, we really need to see it kind of sketched into some sort of a survey. But the big thing, and if you go out there, you can clearly see where it's gonna be. There's no trees or no brush that'll be removed to make that occur.
Yeah, I walked it the other day.
Yep.
so.
Thank you. Anybody else? Phil?
Phil Allen, 13th Street. Coming off Richmond to that little right-of-way there, it drops down very quickly. And it's very close to the level of the swamp in there. So, I come from the north, it's a swamp. But so something's gonna have to be put in there to bring it up.
Well, that's what we're talking about, a boardwalk rather than anything else.
But I don't think putting gravel in is gonna do the job.
I think we're hoping for a boardwalk, and we're gonna have to work with the developer to see.
And I have one other question about, not necessarily about that, but on Richmond, do you envision what additional curb cut?
Thank you. Anybody else?
Can I just make a comment?
Absolutely. If it's about this, if it's about,
I'm
if,
helping you, Elaine, I'm sorry.
it's all right.
Janet Roman, 811 12th Street. I think it's very difficult for the layperson that can't read a survey. I sort of know it, but this, I'm really confused. If next week you put the new easement in and whatever you're going to do and lay it over your concept so people can really see where Elaine, like right here, I can't tell you where Elaine lives, where she sees.
She's
Not on there. No,
Exactly.
way down.
And she needs to see that so she can understand, and most of us can understand. I know we're beyond that line. Yeah, I get that. Not Elaine, I think it's about all of us,
No,
because
it
we're all
is.
afraid that, I mean, this looks great, but
So,
what is it?
hey,
You know,
Janet.
and where the houses are gonna be, and where you're making this path, and
Let's
I
get
know
to
where Phil is talking about how it dips down, because my husband almost got eaten by an alligator, because, you know, he didn't know didn't go all the way through when we first moved here, so.
1 second, let's let Noah respond to something.
So,
Sorry.
just,
Go
I mean,
Thank you.
it may not help any, but if you see that where the alley, the Duck Blind Way alley comes in off of London on this survey,
Where?
on the left where it says Duck Blind Way, there is a cluster of contour lines, which is the change in elevation. That's the edge of going down into the Duck Blind Pond. So I lost track of what I was saying because I was interrupted.
So
But
nothing is gonna be touched.
So yeah, so
Nothing is gonna be touched.
I guess the point I'm making is Lauren can do that for us. What she can't do is go and do survey work that includes 12th Street to also show your houses. Okay. I just wanted to make sure you weren't going to be expecting that before next week. Okay, cool.
I think they want to know where the path
Hey, listen.
where it dips down.
Elaine, if anybody, if you wanna walk it, I'll walk it with you. Call me.
Yeah, I'll come too.
walk it with you.
Whatever.
I'll walk it with you. I'll show you.
That might be a good idea.
Because that's why I wanted it flagged on site, because, you know, I'll
I
walk
think
it.
the big concern here with me and everybody else is that the wildlife is not disturbed. Bottom line.
We will not be disturbing the wildlife, the 13th Street, 12th Street, looking across the Duck Blind Pond, and that row of trees that you see out of your front of your houses will not be disturbed. They will not be disturbed. Beyond that, about 60 some odd feet, there will be a small path. We're gonna work towards a boardwalk to go across there. All right, let's bring it back in. I think we've done what we need here. Staff has a task to make sure that text amendment will work. I think it will, but I just want to make sure that we verify text amendment will work so that we can keep it on path. If not, we'll expedite and go concurrent at the same time, Lauren. Thank you. And that was all in council update, so anything else on council update?
That was it?
If not,
Well, I have a question.
go.
I just wanted, we spoke about Safe Harbor earlier. You mentioned conversations with them and the easement was moving along. I just wanted to see if there had been any communications that you're aware of with them that indicate that any difference in their intentions with regards to the Bluff neighborhood and their partners, or since our last meeting with them.
We haven't had any meetings with them on that specifically. I do have a meeting tomorrow for master planning for the marina.
Okay, I just didn't know if there was if anything had been heard, so yeah.
Van might have heard something, I know.
Yeah, you might want to ask that again next week.
Okay, review next week's council agenda. You can bring it up. We've got our standard minutes. We have Jared, Brooke's bringing it up. We have Jared Fralix coming in and giving us a presentation on Reimagine Rebo Road. I hope that we will focus on our section of Rebo Road. And so I think, make sure Jared knows that. We'd love to see because there's so much that may happen in the upper section now in the city that I don't even want to mix ours up. I want to focus on our section of
Can I
Revo
just,
Road.
can I, Mayor, just say one thing? Because I
Absolutely.
won't be here because I'll be representing Port Royal in Ohio.
Yep.
It does, no matter where you start, it's going to affect us because the traffic,
Yep.
if you come down that two lane that they're proposing, it's going to back that traffic up, and especially with this Woods Bridge that is not going to be working, and it's going to take 3 months to order a part and get it here if it goes broke again. So we need to really consider the whole path and the whole Revolt Road, because what they do, moving a 4-lane to a 2-lane, it's going to bottleneck right here in Port Royal at our intersection. So honestly, we really need the full view because it will affect us from the bottleneck coming
I
down.
think the conversation is more around, that upper section is probably being redesigned and not going to be what was currently proposed. I don't want to, he can certainly show us what's proposed, but maybe he can just tell us that this is being reevaluated. All of us have said it, I have said it public, I said it at the meeting, I was at the meeting at TCL from the moment it started till well past it ended, and I spoke with the engineers, and they said, unless you got traffic models and traffic studies to show that it's not gonna increase the traffic in Port Royal, we're not gonna support it. That whole side, I think, is being looked at again. I don't wanna get into a large conversation in that section if it's already being done. Because we have some issues in our section
Right.
that we need to spend time with, and I want to focus.
But
kind
I
of
just want
focus.
to
Yeah,
make
no,
sure
you're
that,
absolutely
because
right.
it does bottleneck and we're the ones that are affected by it.
So I want to reiterate what Mayor Bear says. The most important intersection in northern Beaufort County is Ladies Island Drive and Revo Road. And it has been impacted quite often by the malfunction of the Woods Bridge.
Oh, yeah.
We
There's no
got to fix
question.
that.
Yep, there's no question.
And I lived here when Revolt Road was a 2-lane, not trying to
Yeah.
tell my age, but I know what it was like.
So it's a very difficult situation.
So
There
do
is
I.
a lot of really important pieces on our section, and we just need to know whether he's going back and looking at that upper section again. And I think Jared's ready to kind of explain that to us. But I don't, other than the statement that they need to know, you have to prove to us narrowing, if they ever narrow, is not going to increase cars in our section. That's it, because we don't want to go back to what happened a long time ago, and that was US Highway 21 was changed from through the city of Beaufort to the town of Port Royal, and the town of Port Royal didn't even know it was happening until the signs went up. So we're not going to let that happen again. There's no way to turn it back, but we're not going to let it happen again.
Thank you. Sorry for that interruption.
No,
but
no,
I needed
it's
to
fine. We
clarify
all
'cause I
need-
won't be here.
We will make sure your concerns are voiced, and I think we've all voiced them already. You want to go through the readings, Brooke?
Yes, sir. We have one first reading, ordinance 2023-20, an ordinance to repeal Article 6, boards and committees, commissions, etc., Division 4, Parks and Recreation Commission in the Code of Ordinances of the Town of Port Royal, South Carolina. This is a repeal due to a lack of activity and tasks for the current commission. It has been proposed to disband the commission, and as we have projects, create ad hoc or task force, as Mr. Greg Shelton has done in the past. Those seem to work very well, and currently at the town hall, we are bringing in-house more. Kevin, you'll recall that the committee was going around and doing a punch list. Ms. Kayla Little, our new administrative director, she is administrator. Kayla is creating a punch list for all of the parks and doing a full analysis. So we're doing that.
Parks is going to be put completely under Public Works. It's going to be their responsibility, they're going to be handling, because they already did the maintenance when they were told, but they're going to be responsible for visiting them, checking on them.
Correct.
And then we're going to create a capital plan and programs for the parks.
And we're in the process of working on those
And then
spreadsheets.
as we get to each one of the parks and we start moving through them, then we'll put ad hoc committees together for that park that'll work specifically on that one. Very good.
No, I thought that was very useful. When
It
there
was.
when there were people on that board, and they would go every month and put eyeballs on each park
Right.
and say,
Yes.
this bench is broken, or this playground equipment's this,
It
or
was
that.
very
Like, that
helpful.
was good, so.
And that's the only first reading that we have. Then we already spoke about the second readings during our public hearing, which are the 3 sidewalk program requests. Would you like me to go back through those?
Nope.
Or public hearings for plenty?
Nope, not at all.
And we will look into the additional, the easement to see if that can be added or not. Council action items, we have appointment for the Zoning Board of Appeals. We will also have an executive session so that way you all have a chance to discuss prior to. There's the memorandum of agreement with Cherry Hill Park Maintenance, which will give, the town will be taking responsibility of landscaping with our contracted provider of Southern Palmetto currently. And then we also have the council approval of the speed hump locations, which, as we discussed earlier, is in your packet for those locations.
Just a quick question.
Yep, go ahead.
Just with the appointments, I was just wondering where we are on I know we discussed it, the redevelopment commission.
We did it last month.
David Stillwell.
David Stillwell, we voted on it last
Oh,
month.
okay, I got you. Okay.
Yeah, you were here, you voted, you voted.
I thought we just had the executive session on it.
No, we voted. Remember, we added it, I added it for a motion to add it because
At
we
the
were
end of
missing
our
from the
executive
agenda
session.
because we shouldn't have put it.
And I believe he attended the last meeting.
He did attend the
As-
last meeting.
Yeah, I was here, yeah.
Important dates, we have on Thursday, November 2nd, we have the sculpture reveal at the Cypress Wetlands at 5:30.
Yes.
Friday, November 3rd, 2023, you should have received an invitation for the Coffee and Colleagues at Springer, which will be at 8:30 to 9:30. On Tuesday, we have the election day from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And on Wednesday, we'll be holding our regular council meeting at 6:30 p.m.
If you want to, go ahead. Before we get to that. That's it? It's good? Before I open it up to public comment, I do want to take a second and recognize a member of this community who I got the pleasure to work with for over 8 years on the Planning Commission. That's James Crowther. James passed away earlier this week. If anybody knows Patty and James, they were extremely dedicated people to this community. He was a pleasure to work with on the Planning Commission for 8 years. He actually came back and did a short stint after we were missing somebody. He had decided to retired. We needed to fill. We asked him if he'd come back, and he came back again, and he helped us. He was always so thoughtful. He read every document. When we came into the room, he knew what was going on. He had read the information. When we went to the Metropolitan Planning Commission, he read the city codes. He read the county codes. He knew exactly what was going on. He will be a missed member of this community, and I just wanted to take a moment and recognize him because he really helped this town for a number of years and participated in many, many things. So thank you, everybody, for allowing me to do that.
Jim's heart was as big as his smile, if you knew him.
And they always sat front row.
Yep,
This-
amazing.
For everyone's, I don't know, memorial service is Monday.
Memorial service
At
is
St.
Monday.
Mark.
1 o'clock at St. Mark.
Yes, that's correct.
With, immediately following with the reception at Madison's.
Correct. Thank you.
You know,
I'm going to open it up to public comment.
we have council comment, because I've got one comment.
You want council? Go ahead.
Earlier, when we talked about walking, you offered it up to walk with some of these people, and I would say open it up, especially to the folks that live around there and anybody that wants to walk.
Anybody.
Let's just make it public, if y'all can kind of confirm a time or whatever. Because I'm sure there's some other people around that area that it's going to impact that would probably benefit from walking that as well. So I will make sure we're
Friday
communicating.
afternoon would work really well for me, and the flags are there, explain it, Noah, if you, is your schedule kind of, so that you could be available maybe around?
I can reach out to the email chain
I'll
that
give you-
I already have going.
I think it's 41 or 42 people, Elaine, on your email chain right now? I'll confirm, no, I'll confirm with you in the morning on a time. We'll see if we can do that.
Thank you for doing
Make
that.
council aware of that.
We have to be cautious how many council members, as always.
I
We
won't-
could separate, some can come from one end, some come from the other end.
Okay.
As long as we don't do anything, but we just need to be cautious. But yeah.
Mr. President, we just don't
Well,
have
as
to
long
talk
as we
about it.
publicize it,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I guess we could do it that way.
And as long as you're
Yep, we
publicizing
could do it
it,
that
you
way.
are allowed to do it. Thank you.
We could do it that way, so,
That's
yeah,
all
I'll
I have,
confirm
sir.
with you. Yep, no, good. I'll open it up to the public, but before I do, we have a few people who filled out, but Ms. Howard, please, just need to let us know, you don't have to fill out papers.
I would like to share what you said about Jim Crowley. He and I were on the Metro Planning Commission together, and he read every single thing. And it didn't matter whether it was the city, the county, or the town, and he was very thoughtful. I had two things. I know this isn't in the town, but it does impact the town. The county has awarded and approved a contract to add 4 more pickleball courts at Southside Park. So we'll have a total of 6 there, which would be nice. And they awarded, that also included a full-size basketball court and also a paved path from the city Southside Park around the backside to the county side of the park. So it'll be, and then the city is working on awarding, I think they have awarded their part of the pavilion and the playground, so it'll be a nice
When you say the
amenity.
Southside Park, but it's the
where the-
Battery Creek portion. of the
Yeah,
park,
where the tennis
existing
courts
tennis
are.
courts are now, not
And
in
where the field is now, will be for
For
pickleball
pickleball.
courts. And so that'll be a total of 6. Tennis courts, the 2 will still stay there, so.
That's great.
And then the full-size basketball court, which I think will see a lot of use. And I'd like to thank Monday, Van Willis, Noah Krebs, and the mayor, and I met with our staff from the county with the Low Country Montessori school people. Traffic is still an issue in that neighborhood, as y'all know. We had done a study in 2017, the county did, and the people from Port Royal that attended and the county staff, I think we finally convinced them that what they might have preferred as their route is not necessarily what's ever going to happen. So I appreciate, because the route that they'd like to see connect is way too long and way too expensive. But we're working on some things, and we got an update on the status of the sidewalk on which will help Broad River Road. So, all right, unless y'all have any questions for me, I will talk to Jared before next week, 2 weeks. And I know that there are other alternative designs. He just has kept them waiting to see what the public says, so.
Next week, next Wednesday.
Yeah, next Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yes, next Wednesday.
Okay.
But as y'all know, the priority is that intersection at Ladies Island.
Most important
That's the most
intersection in
important
northern
part.
Beaufort
And the county well knows that. They're prepared to do something there soonest.
Thank
Okay?
you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Allen.
Scott Clark. Well, just Scott and Patty, why don't you both come up at the same time?
Well, we're not talking about the same thing.
Okay.
Stand by your man.
Scott Clark, President of the Friends of Port Royal Cypress Wetlands. I know Brooke already mentioned it, but I just wanted to remind everybody about tomorrow night at 5:30. We're meeting first at the amphitheater, and then we will mosey on down a little ways and do the unveiling of the sculpture. Everybody is invited. Alice, I would love for you to come as well, and the public is welcome as well. I would love to get as many people as possible. This is a really special sculpture. I just finished installing it about an hour and a half ago, so it's wonderful. And I would like to yield back the rest of my time till use at a later date.
Oh, sorry, we don't allow that.
Lisa, can you send us a meeting invite for that tomorrow at 5:30?
I think we already have it.
Do we?
Yeah, we have it.
Patty Clark,
Okay.
the better Clark half. I'm sorry.
Patty Clark, 1012 11th Street.
got
Thank
it.
you so much for coming out with a new bulk waste collection. But I got some questions, and I'm really just talking about the village, so the blue area on the map. So if I've got a couple of mattresses, I should call before Saturday, tell you I'm going to have some mattresses out on the street. They don't go out until Saturday. Saturday or Sunday to be picked up on Monday. But that's only if Public Works says, yes, we are picking up on Monday. If they don't say, yes, we're picking up on Monday, because Monday could be a holiday, Monday there could be a shortage in staff, people could be out sick. I just want to make sure that we don't have a lot of trash laying out on Monday or Saturday, Sunday, and Monday that cannot get picked up. So this also means that there shouldn't be any mattresses, toilets, everything that's been put on the curb the last many years, Tuesday through Friday. So Tuesday through Friday, our streets should not have any trash, debris, all of that. So is that correct?
That is the goal of the new
Okay.
plan that's being put in
Okay.
place.
So we have enforcement. So if someone has put their toilet out in the right-of-way on Tuesday morning, we can contact our Shay, and she will come out and tell that person, please put your toilet back in your house, pick up your mattresses.
Yes.
Is that how this will work?
Yes.
Kangaroo is still in charge of litter
It doesn't matter who,
patrol.
you call town hall and we'll have somebody respond.
Oh, no, definitely. I was just identifying our shade isn't,
She doesn't do the trash.
She helps out at times.
Okay.
But when folks are calling in, there's a spreadsheet that is shared with everyone at the town hall.
Okay.
And so anyone that receives a phone call will have a name, an address, what is being picked up, whether it's yard or bulk, what type of bulk items, so they'll know what should be out there.
Okay.
That is both sent to Public Works as well as to Kangaroo.
Okay. All
So
right.
everybody's on the same page of what should be getting picked up as well as what they should be looking for that shouldn't be placed out.
And
Okay.
If Monday's a holiday, then we'll be notifying when they call not to put it out.
Okay, great.
Because we're going to do it on Tuesday.
That's great. All right. Appreciate this so much. Brooke, I know you and your staff spent a lot of time on this with Jeff, the hardest working man in this town. We love Jeff, and Carl, and all our Public Works guys. So thank you so much for cleaning up our town. Many of us really appreciate it, especially Kat and our trash picker-uppers on Saturday mornings.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Kat?
I just have a question.
Oh, you got to come forward. You can't do it from there.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Charlie, let her out.
And I have one sweet thing about Jim Brown.
Oh, so many.
He picked up trash for years with us, and I swear to God, we always gave him the award. He would show up with tires, pieces of furniture, just with his bag. He was the greatest ever, and we miss him terribly, terribly. My only question was, and maybe not really for Alice, but what's with the playground? Do we have any news on the playground? It's so beautiful. When is it going to open?
Yeah, I need to find out. I think there was something about parking.
So,
Maybe Noah knows better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, my understanding is that the equipment itself is complete. It's a fully accessible and inclusive playground, and it doesn't have parking that is fully accessible. So, what the plan, I believe, is to engineer closing, capping the ditch that runs from the entry to the rec center, and creating some angled parking along the street there along that fence next to the playground. And there will be a handicap parking space or a couple handicap parking spaces with a ramp that's fully accessible up to the fence with a gate into the playground. And I know that they plan to, there's some kind of plan in the works to make it accessible from the other side of the building near where the bathroom's being built at the baseball field as well.
But it is not open at this time.
It is not
Not open.
Is there any timeline on it?
I haven't heard, I mean, I think with personnel issues at the county, it slowed down the timeline on that engineering, is my reasonable guess.
Yeah, just email Noah or staff.
The county.
County owned. County owned property, county owned park.
Thank you, Alice.
Thank you. Anything else? Thank you, everybody, for coming. See you next week.
Don't forget to set your clock back this weekend.
This weekend?
Yes.
I thought it was
Time falls back
Fall
on
back
Sunday
Sunday.
morning at 2 o'clock.
I thought it was next week.